Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. Today we're playing through Aeon's End War Eternal. We've got Yan over here on the right, player number 2, and we have Meza over here at player number 1. Now in the last video, if you hadn't watched it already, we did a rules overview, and then even prior to that we did the solo setup. So if you haven't seen this thing and how it's been set up, please go back to those previous videos so that you understand kind of how the game plays, as well as how we set it up, so there's no confusion that way. And then I'm going to try to fill in the blanks as we go through the first round. So basically this first round will go a little bit slower than normal as I try to explain my way through things. And then once we kind of get a feel for it, I'll pick up the pace and we'll still talk through my turn, give you guys an idea as to what I'm thinking, but less talk about what's going where and when things are happening. So we essentially have the market over here to the right if you don't know. Again, this is all the area where we can purchase all of our cards, a bunch of different things we can buy there. We'll talk about that later. The first thing you do when you begin your turn, you're going to go to your turn order deck. Very simple. We're going to flip this and magically it's going to tell us who's going first. It could end up being the Nemesis itself, which in this case is the Umbra Titan, or it could actually be one of our two characters. So hopefully it's one of the two characters, but it's completely random. Okay, so that's not going to work out in our favor. So the Nemesis is going to go first. Now, when the Nemesis gets to go first, we always take a look at the row in front of the Nemesis to see if there's any cards in front. So this could be a number of different things, minions and a bunch of different things like that. For instance, if there is a card in play, then it would trigger now. But we don't have any because, well, we just started the game. So we go right to the draw pile, which is the Nemesis deck. Essentially, we flip this over and find out what we're in store for. And we've got ourselves a minion. It's a cryptid. Now, when these minions come out on the table, they basically come into play with their life. So this is 6. So we're going to put a die on here to represent the 6 life points that we need to take off it in order to kill it. Its ability is nice to know right now, but we don't have to worry about it until the next time the Nemesis triggers, because that's when these abilities will trigger off. So this one here has a persistent one. It says the player with the most expensive prep spell discards that spell, or the Umbra Titan loses 1 Nemesis token. So this is pretty nasty, because basically it's attacking your spells that are prepped in your breaches, which you're trying to use to kill it in the first place, or you're going to lose some tokens off the shelf here against the Nemesis, or from the Nemesis, and if those tokens disappear at any point in time, as you can see right here from the additional rules, then Gravehold's foundation is completely undermined. So you can lose that way, as well as losing from just Gravehold's actual life dial depleting down to 0, whereas we are trying to actually take out a Nemesis with 70 health. That's right, folks, 70. The odds are stacked heavily in our favor. So we're going to take this minion, basically put it in our player area here. So we know this is in play. We're going to grab a 10-sided dice, or die, I keep saying dice, and we're going to grab the 6-side and put it right like this. So now we know this guy is a 6, and going forward, we're going to try to put as much damage on it as possible. Hopefully it won't activate, but we're not too much in control of the turn order. And just like that, that is resolved. Now we go to the turn order deck again to find out what's going to happen next. So player number 1 is going to go, and player number 1 is Meza. So we're going to go right to the casting phase. So the casting phase is first, but we don't have anything prepped. If there was a spell in any of my breaches, then we would go through the casting phase. There isn't, so we skip past it and go to the main phase. The main phase lets you do a number of different things, which we talked about in the rules overview. You can go ahead and charge yourself up in order to do your special ability. Underneath Mantra, for instance, with Meza, does a really cool ability that lets you gain a gem that costs 4 ether or less from any supply. So that's really cool. Basically, you come over here and say anything that's worth 4 or less in the top right-hand corner, then you could basically obtain it. That's really good. And Gravehold gains 4 life. That's really good. So if you end up charging it up all the way during your main phase, you can trigger that. Something to keep aware of, but you got to spend up to 8 ether basically to get it fully charged, and that's a lot of non-deck building to get to that point. So it's It's good when Gravehold, which is right here, starts taking some hits and we're in trouble. But for now, I don't know. I don't know if it's good or not. So something to think about anyway. The first thing we're going to do with Meza is we're going to go look at his hand. So of course, I have hands for both characters up and open for everyone to see. So Meza's hand, which Meza's character area right here with his breeches. Meza's hand is right there. Coming over here, we have Yan's hand open and Yan's player area. So you'll never not see, double negative, you'll never see or be hidden away from the cards that are in their hands. So over here we have Meza. What are we going to do? That's the first question. Well, we should probably take a look at our sparks. We have 2. We can't at this particular point get both sparks into the breaches. We can only prep this spark right now. During the main phase, we can focus a breach to open it up. We can also prep sparks. We can do all good stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do that's obvious is prep the spark. One thing that's an advantage to this is it allows me to deal damage the next time Meza has a turn, because I'll be able to cast it. The downside is that if I don't get this spark out of my hand right now, it's clogging my hand up, and then I'm not getting good cards to build my deck during the next turn. So I could focus that breach to basically get the other spark into my hand. He only has 6 health, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to try to knock him off. So maybe we'll do that for now. Ugh, that's the debate. So the other thing I'll let you know before we go to that step is we have these 3 cards. So the 2 crystals are worth 2 ether each on the left. The one on the right is a card specific to the mage itself, and it says you can either gain 1 ether or you can gain 2 ether that can only be used to gain a card, meaning it has to go towards something in the market area. And then you can place the next card you gain this on top of any ally's discard pile. So basically it's almost like you're going to go buy a card and you're going to place it into Yan's card pile, which is interesting because you can actually set something up really good. Works out pretty good because maybe I could set something up that could go into here and put some serious damage on him. Actually might not be a bad thing at all. Maybe we'll do that. That's a perfect idea. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take 4 ether. I don't know if this is the right time to do this or not, but hey, let's do it. So we're going to use this bottom ability. It says gain 2 ether that can only be used to gain a card. Place the next card you gain this turn on top of an ally's discard pile. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4 ether. That 4 ether, we're going to come over here. And the only thing that can do some serious damage with 4 right now is Jagged Lightning. We have some gems up here. These are great for basically boosting ether in your deck later on. As we have a minion in play, we should probably take care of it before it starts hurting us too badly. But I would have loved to have started going after those right away, but things didn't pan out. We also have some really heavy damage cards down here that we're nowhere near affording yet. But once we get some of those gems from the top row into our deck, then the chances that we'll have enough ether to get the bottom row cards are even better. And again, this whole market area can be completely randomized and can be completely changed up anytime you play the game, which allows for so many dynamic options, which is really cool. So anyway, Jagged Lightning, that's what we're purchasing. We're using the power of the World Heart Shard from Meza, thank you Meza, to put the Jagged Lightning into the discard pile of Yan. So that's really cool. So it's going to basically be at the top of her discard pile. I'm just going to make sure that actually goes. Yes, it is the top of a discard pile. So right now, not so useful, but hey, it's putting a really strong card into that person's hand. And maybe the next thing I can try to do with Yan is try to open this breach up. I don't know, I'm going to find some way to get my breaches open. So we're going to go ahead now, we're going to take all 3 of these. We're going to say we spent them because we have. Normally when I spend stuff, I'll put them here. And then essentially when we're done with our turn, I will then put it into the discarded area. For now, not using the last spark that's in my hand. So it's going to gum up my hand and use up a spot. You'll see what I mean by that in a second. I've now spent everything I want to spend in terms of the main phase. So I'm going to take these 3 cards and put them in any order back in the discard pile. Remember, when the discard pile is done, it's going to flip over like this. So whatever is on the bottom of this pile will come up first in my deck later on. So maybe putting this World Heart Shard at the bottom of it would make the most logical sense, as it's the most powerful of the 3 cards. Just like that. Done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to refill Meza's hand, but we have to remember there's a constraint because the spark takes up 1 of the 5 spots in my hand. So I can only take 4 cards from this deck, and we'll just put them up in the tray one by one. So we've got another crystal, we've got another crystal, another crystal. And again, at the very beginning of the game, you're going to have basic stuff. So don't expect to be pulling anything fantastic. It is on you to be building your deck as you go. So there we go. We got lots of ability to purchase things. That's good. Using our ether. Okay, so that essentially covers all of Meza's turn. So now we can move back to the turn order deck, flip it over, and Meza's going to go again. Look at that. And that happens sometimes, and that can be nice. So we've had the Nemesis go first. Meza's gone twice. So here's where things are kind of cool. Meza prepped the spark. So because Meza prepped the spark, I'm going to go ahead and deal that damage right now. That's going to shoot over and hit the cryptid for 1. So we're going to knock him down to 5. So we're slowly making a little bit of progress on this guy, although we need something a little bit more powerful. The good news is that we only have 1 item in our, or 1 spell I should say, in our hand that we can actually put in our breaches right now. So let's do that. Let's prep this spell to put in here. Perfect. Gets it out of our hand. And now we have 4 crystals to spend. 4 crystals. Now this is where it gets interesting because what do you want to buy? There is no limit to the amount of things you could buy. So I could buy 2 Mage's Totems if I wanted to. Allows me to destroy a gem or relic you played this turn. I guess that's good for getting rid of... getting rid of crystals out of your hand, becoming more powerful in the end. You can also destroy the card to gain 1 life for Gravehold. That's also good. But then there's these guys up here that are really cool. Because basically you can really grab some serious ether really fast. The Frost Magmite looks good. You may place the next card you gain this turn on the top of your deck. Ooh, I like that. So that's really good actually. So maybe, yeah, I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with Frozen Magmite, I think. So we're going to buy this one for 3, which doesn't use up all of our crystals. Do I really want to do this? I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, let's go with. Okay, we'll go with it. We're gonna buy this. This is gonna immediately go into our discard pile. It goes right on wherever the top of it is, essentially. I used 3 crystals to purchase that, so those 3 crystals are now kind of in this area here. We still technically have 1 crystal to spend, so. I don't have anything else I could spend that crystal on, sadly, so it's going to basically just be sitting in my hand for the next turn, which is okay. We'll take these 3 crystals that I spent. I'm going to put them on top of the deck over here, and we're done. That essentially is... Oh no, we're not completely done. We got to refill our hand here for Meza. So this is when you're going to have your last card in the deck over here, flip over, bam, we've got a spark, and then we're going to go ahead and take this entire deck, and we do not shuffle it. It rotates over and flips. And this is the cool mechanic of the game, where when you're deck building, you truly are preparing yourself for a future turn. Now we're actually taking cards right off the top, based on the order we put them in at the end of our previous turn. So that's really cool. So we're going to have a couple options here. Going into the next one. Actually, as you can see right now, because of the way things panned out, I'll have 2, 3, 4, 5 going into the next one for purchasing. That's really strong. That's really good for using just some low-level starter cards. Okay, so that is essentially all of Meza's turn. We're going to come back over here. Turn order deck number 2. Wow, we were getting lucky. Okay, so... we're coming over here to Yan. I would love to have that Jagged Lightning in my hand. That would have been fantastic. But we have these different cards in our hand currently. Let's take a look at Illuminate and find out what's about that. Or what is that all about? The Open Breach, by the way, doesn't do anything. We're not casting any spells, so we know it's there, but this card might be able to go into it. Illuminate. While prepped, you may focus... when you focus or open one of your breaches during your turn, deal a damage. Cool. And then, of course, when you cast it later on, it's going to deal a damage. So what it's basically saying is right now, when I prep it, if I focus or open a breach, I can deal a damage to this Cryptoid without even... So this is awesome, because right now I technically couldn't have dealt a damage, but because of this card I can. If I prep this spell like this, and I go ahead and I focus this breach here, or I completely open it, then I can actually put a damage on this guy, and I'm going to do that. So I'm going to actually use 2 focus. So I'm going to use 2 of my crystals here. I'm going to put them in this area. We are going to focus this breach for the first time. And I want to get all these breaches open, remember. I don't know if we talked about this yet, but Yan has a really, really cool ability here. As you can see, it's called Imperium Ritual. Gain a card from any supply pile. If you have 4 open breaches, any ally gains a card from any supply pile and places it on the top of their deck. So again, we're really, like, these 2 characters are really going to help each other, bouncing things back and forth. Great combo. So if we can get to that, that'll be fantastic. But again, we're going to have to build towards it, and we have to have all of our breaches open to really benefit from it. And really what that allows you to do is to give it to your other ally. You can always gain the card as well as another option. Anyway, we placed 2 ether down and spent 2 crystals. That's going to allow us to focus. So what's going to happen now is this is going to rotate 90 degrees. So it rotates this way. And what you can see the difference is the focusing still costs the same next time, but now the open cost is reduced, meaning we typically see 4 ether in our hands every so often. We might be able to actually open the breach next time, which is great because maybe we'll get lucky and get the Jagged Lightning in our hand and be able to shoot it off and take this guy out. Here's hoping. Anyway, we focus this. When we focus that, we now have activated that while prepped illuminate ability, which says during your turn, deal 1 damage. We're not talking about the cast at the bottom. That cast comes later when we do the casting spell phase at the beginning of my turn. We're doing the top section. This is going to reduce this guy down to 4, so that's a nice quick hit. And then we still technically have 2 crystals in our hand to spend. So what can we spend these 2 crystals on? Oof, tempting. Could go down here. I could also potentially go to the get a Mage's Totem, which allows me. We already read this earlier. I don't know. You know what? I kind of want to charge it up. Let's charge something up. So let's go ahead and spend 2 crystals, and let's get our first charge going for this guy because we're going to head towards being able to use this hopefully in the future. So there we go. We charged that up. Now what we're going to do is all these cards can return essentially to the discard pile. All of them are the same, so we don't care about order. So we're just going to simply drop them on top, and just like that, we're done. And of course, we need to re-up our cards in our hands. So we're going to grab 5. We've got a crystal. We've got another crystal. We've got a... Sorry about that. My focus is going to go crazy because I'm throwing cards in front of it. Another crystal. And another crystal, and a spark. Okay. All right, so that's that. That's the end of Yan's turn. So here's coming. Okay, we got 2 cards left. We know one of them is a 2, and one of them's a Nemesis. So here we go. I don't know what's going to happen. It'll be fun. This is kind of where it gets interesting, knowing what the turn order is going to be or what it likely could be. Nemesis. Ugh, gross. Okay, so what's going to happen essentially is the very first thing again, we're going to talk about what's currently in play. So what's in play, oldest to newest, is the cryptid. If I'm pronouncing that correctly, it says the player with the most expensive prepped spell discards that spell, or the Umbra Titan loses a Nemesis token. So I don't want to get rid of a token this early in the game because these things can disappear real fast sometimes when you get into certain situations. So I'm going to probably prefer to lose a spell. Both of these spells are 0. So what that allows me to do essentially is choose. I can choose one of these 2 characters to ditch their spell. I know that Yan hasn't gone twice yet. So having Yan ditch her spell would be silly. So I'm going to actually have Meza get rid of the spark. When a spark is ditched, it just simply goes into the discard pile. And we've now satisfied that particular portion of the card, and we're done. Next thing we're going to do is draw a card for the Nemesis, which is probably going to make our lives more miserable. We've got an attack. Oh my gosh. Holy, that is bad. Okay, so we can either, this is called a quell attack. This is going to be something, an attack card we basically resolve in the moment right now. Nothing else we can do about it. It says Gravehold suffers 7 damage. That's insane. Or we can unleash 3 times. Okay, I need to reread the unleash again because I feel like this is going to really be punishing. So unleash here says if there is 1 Nemesis turn order card. Okay, so yeah, we know it's going to be 2 because there's 2 in there. Gravehold suffers 2 damage. Oh. Well, in that case, I'd rather unleash 3 times. Yeah, because that's 6 total damage. I'm not losing Nemesis tokens either. Forget that. Oh, actually, I could choose to lose a Nemesis token if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. I'm going to have Gravehold take the pain. I don't know if that's a wise decision or not, but hey, at the end of the day, if we're talking about the difference between the Quell card saying Gravehold suffers 7 damage, or just unleashing 3 times and having it count for 6 damage, 1 less, that's not bad. But I do get a choice. I could actually break it up and take some of these tokens away too and lower the amount of damage going to Gravehold. That's hard to know which one's better in that case. I really feel like I've been in situations where I played this before and these tokens have literally just disappeared so fast. If you get cluttered up here too fast, some things just start hammering those tokens really quick. And I find this can actually take you out more times, or at least quicker than Gravehold, but I've also had it happen in reverse, so it's kind of tough to know. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce Gravehold down to 24. The reason I'm deciding that Gravehold is going to suffer is because I know that with what's currently in the deck, in terms of the market, I should say, not the deck, but over here, I have things that allow me to get Gravehold some life back. I could buy some of these cards here and destroy the cards, bring some life back in. We'll see how it plays out. So this is basically dealt with now, so I'm going to toss it. I don't want to see it anymore. It's already hurt my feelings enough. And that's it. That's the end of the Nemesis phase. So now we're going to go to the very last individual, and we know who this is. It's number 2. This is going to be Yan. So again, we're going to be shuffling this deck at the start of the next video and moving forward. So Yan here is going to go. Yan has Spark and 4 crystals, but we do the casting phase first. So I remember I kept the spell on Yan, and Yan says when she casts, she deals a damage. So bam, we're going to use our Illuminate spell here to cast for 1 damage. Illuminate has just triggered and dealt 1 damage to the cryptid, and we have reduced it down to 3. So we're going to go ahead with Yan's turn. Well, Yan, what do you want to do? We could totally open up this closed breach right now if we wanted to. Really tempted to do that. I think I'm going to. So I'm going to spend 4 ether to open this thing. But first, I'll just put my spark in the open breach area. Then I'm going to go ahead and spend 4 ether. Oh, this is so tough. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to spend 4 ether to open this breach. So basically, this is awesome. So the top breach basically just means it opens up right away. So bam, we now have the availability to keep 2 different spells up here, which is really good if we can get things rolling. Of course, this is going to cost me 4 ether, so I have to actually take that out of my hand. So these 4 crystals disappear. That's my entire hand depleted, goes on top of the discard pile. That's pretty much it. That's all I can do. So that's the end of Yan's turn. Again, remember I've charged up in the past, so I just got to get to 8 more ether worth in order to get to this bonus. But that might be something we're kind of working towards slowly. Not really a main goal as of yet. So that is essentially it for her. And then, of course, we need to re-up with her cards in her hand. So we're going to take the discard pile. We're going to flip it over, and now it becomes her deck. And we're going to draw 5 cards off the top. And this is where, haha, the Jagged Lightning that Meza gave her earlier is going to finally come into play. Got a crystal here. What else are we going to get? Probably lots of crystals would be my guess. I think I spent a whole bunch of them in a row there. Yeah, probably 4 crystals, I think. Yes. All right, but we got that Jagged Lightning, which is perfect because that would be enough to blow this guy away besides the 1 spark we already have ready to go. So that's not bad. But that's essentially it. That is technically the end of the very first round, guys. So again, what I'm going to end up doing is we're going to end it right here. I'm going to be reshuffling the turn order deck. We're going to be starting over again in the next episode in the next round. Hope you guys are enjoying the playthrough so far. I love the mechanics of this game. It flows so smooth once you get going. But we also really want to start acquiring some ether gems probably in the next video. I really want to focus on trying to get some more ether in bigger, larger amounts. So I'm hoping we can take this guy out and hoping we don't see many more minions come into play that we have to deal with so that we can kind of get our way, get through it, as well as we'd like to try to start replenishing the life of Gravehold so we don't get into too much trouble there as well. Anyway, having a blast. If you guys enjoy what you've seen so far, give me a thumbs up if you want to see more. Thank you so much for the support, and until the next episode, keep on rolling solo.